The headless web content management trend opens up exciting new possibilities for what we can do with our CMS data. We can now build rich, dynamic experiences without having to worry about them being tied to a particular platform or language stack. But what is this concept's future? Let's hear it from the experts to discuss this topic, the future of headless web content management. We have Keo Frazier, founder of Keo Marketing Consultancy, and Paola Galvarro, Chief Executive Officer at MEM Marketing, up on stage. Let's welcome our next panelists.
Hi, everybody. Since we're at the tail end and they're after lunch, why don't you guys move up? And this is called like fireside chat, right? We don't have a fire, but we can pretend that there's one. So come on up, come closer, because guess what? We can't even see you up here unless you're close.
So bright.
It's so bright. So come closer. Yeah. Wait.
You guys look great though.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay, great. So, first of all, since those who are still in the back, if you want to move up, please move closer. And our topic is headless marketing. But one, we're first going to introduce ourselves and our expertise, and we might switch it up a little bit, and we're going to ask for some participation and ask some questions of you all. So be ready. Okay. So I'm Keo Frazier. And actually, my company was Keo's Marketing Group. I've had 7 companies. But today, there's 2 things that I do. One is I'm the Director of Communications and Public Affairs for Denver Housing Authority. And I also have a company, it's a think tank called New Thinkers. And so you'll see that on some of the posters and some of the signage around here. And so my expertise is in branding, messaging, and strategy. And out of all my companies, I've done everything from digital to creative to even print media, if you can believe it or not. That might actually say how old I am, since that doesn't really exist anymore. And so, but anyway, so that's sort of what kind of expertise I come to this conversation with. And
thank you, Keo. My name is Paola Galvarro. I own an agency in digital marketing. The name is MEM Marketing Agency LLC. And my expertise area in marketing, it's very wide, but I try to focus in strategies and in social media channels.
Awesome. That's great. So before we get into this topic of headless marketing or headless CMSs, it's interesting, but there's not a huge amount to say about it, other than I feel like we might be going a little bit backwards in our digital world, except with AI, we might be going a little bit coupling with back and forward, the past and the future, which is an interesting topic in itself. But since we're also at the tail end of this conference, we wanted to give you guys a chance. You've heard a lot of conversations, a lot of presentations, you've heard a lot, and it might be sort of like brain overload, and you might want to give something back in your conversation here in this last conversation. Awesome, thank you. So that's much better. I'm like trying to see your faces. So is there something that is on your mind as a burning thing that you want to share, that you want to talk about, or you want to hear about? Now, given our expertise, given the topic of this fireside chat, it is a chat, which means like us chatting. It's like two-way street, us engaging each other. So what do you guys think? Like, anyone have anything that's burning on their mind, on their thoughts, on their phones, that they're, you're reading an article right now, because that's what I do when I'm listening to other people talk to you. So, so go ahead.
I have something real quick. So you mentioned branding. So branding is a broad topic, and now with a very busy digital space is very busy. So from branding, how can someone stand out that is such a busy space? How do you stand out? What is the key element that we all have to think about for standing out?
You can go first.
Okay. well, look at you starting us off with big stuff. So how do you stand out in branding when there's so much going on, right? Even we're here in Vegas, you guys, it's like a big old brand throw up on our faces, right? Everywhere you go, you're just like, oh my God, like how do you even focus? So as an individual person and as an entrepreneur and a founder, and whether your company is small or mid-size, and I'm thinking that's a lot of the people here, is that I think that one, you have to think about it in a couple of ways, is that people care about brands and buy from brands and use brands that like touches them, that they care about, that means something to them. And so before, it was about what looks good, the flashiest, the one with the coolest ads, things like that. Now it's about, does this align with my value system and align with my integrity? Are they truthful? Are they honest? And so as a smaller company and a smaller entrepreneur, I think it's important to make sure that you and your brand align, meaning yourself, your person, like, even old adages of like separate your company, your business from your person. I do not believe in that at all. I think that you are your brand and your brand is you. And so you have to align with your brand. You have to live up to that brand. You walk in the brand as well. And then also the things that you're doing have to connect to your customer and the end user. They have to feel it, not just like, oh, they saw the puppy in the ad. They have to think that you care about them and you care about their needs and their wants and their belief systems. And that's how you differentiate yourself, right? Because no offense to any big brand that you can think of. I won't name any since we're live streaming. I don't want to get in trouble. But there might be a brand in your mind that you're like, do they care about me? I don't know if they care about me, right? So then maybe you're not going to be loyal to them and you're always going to shop around. But when someone does care about you and they care about your value system and care about the things that you care about, then you stick to them and you stay loyal to them.
Yeah, and to add something to that, I would say that in terms of design or the designing of a new brand, I would say like make it simple. But in terms of the message, I would say keep it complex. Like Keo said before, like if you support a cause, you need to tell everybody that you're supporting something, that you stand about something, talk about what they really matter. And we talk a lot in our agency about cause marketing and having a really good cause to support or helping others or involving in situations that your brand needs to be involved. So you don't need to be in everything, but you need to choose like strategically where you want to be and support that and communicate that you are doing. Anyone else? I think we have other faces after lunch.
That's okay. This is great. It's a small crowd to talk about. Do you guys have something else? It's a burning question that you want to ask or you want to talk about something? Come on up. And say your name in the microphone, right? It's live streaming. They should know you too.
This is Anthony,
Hi.
City. My question is related to the Headless CMS side of things. So I think what I wanted to ask is who's it for actually, Headless CMS? Because there are CMSs out there. And there are decades of technology in that CMS side of things, but headless and the connotation of it itself is deviating from the fact that what is headless CMS, right? Who's it? What is it fit for? I mean, if I am technically good enough to understand that it's a decoupled architecture and everything, but how do you convince clients or how do you convince people that are beneficial, because it comes with a cost as well, right? So I wanted to ask and see how your experience in that as well.
So great. Like the title of the conversation today was like a trend. We're going to talk about headless content in a web, like a trend. It's something that is new, like we speak before. But I think that
your clients.
I work with some clients. One of them decided to go headless in so many topics. Like they own a website, but then they decide like, I want to have case 1, case 2, case 3, and all should be headless because I said so. That's a client. And I said, okay, it's our first time. I'm agree. Like I'm really open to try and experiment everything in internet, social media, everything. So I'd say, okay, but slow down. We're gonna try first, make A/B experiment, see how it goes. And the next month we can try the next one. So at the beginning, the clients, well, yeah, it's working, but then they get excited, like I said before, and they put like 6 at the same time. So that's too much. So they lose control and they need to come backwards and begin again, like 1, okay, a month, then just a spare time going forward. And I think that's a good advice that we can try everything. Headless is good, we can use it, but we need to make it part of the strategy and then going one step like around.
So I think your question is like, who is it for and who uses it, right? And then so I think so on the back end, on the CMS side of it, it makes it adaptable and flexible, right? Because you can have one person doing this thing while another person, the programmer doing this, a writer doing the blog, of this person, editing the pages, and then it all kind of comes together. But it's adaptable and flexible in that way, and many people can be using it at the same time. But here's the challenge on the back end, that CMS part of it, is that it can become complicated, and you still have to have you still have to have a level of approvals, right? So you can't just let people just do whatever and then pull it back together without there still being a system and put in place. So I think the big question is I think as long as there's AI technology coupled with that, then I think it makes a lot of sense for people who have a varying customer base, who are doing where their customers are doing different things and looking at different things at different times. That makes a lot of sense. But someone that has one product, one customer, one thing, I don't know if that really makes sense to go headless. Because you can, like what she was saying, you can make it more complex than it needs to be just because you want to try this new thing. It's like way back when, Web 2.0 came, before we were doing Java and HTML and everybody's all excited, and now we don't even do that. So I think that you just have to be careful about not making something complex just because you want to be in the hype. Did that make sense? Did that help answer your question? Okay. Now, in another question? No, you guys are super quiet.
No,
But so we're going to talk about this headless on and on.
you can go.
Yeah.
ahead.
So one of the issues that I've seen typically with headless or very
Mhm.
intense React, JavaScript, JS, Node.js type of stuff are the complications with render and index.
Yep.
Especially as it relates to search engine optimization.
Mhm.
So I guess the question that I would have is what kinds of recommendations would you have? Because obviously you need to have the technical, you need to have your brand people front end, and then you also need to potentially have your SEO or potentially DevOps involved in it. What would you recommend as far as collaboration between all of those things and make sure that there's some kind of synergy going on between all three of those?
Well, on my end, how it works is that there's an expert behind it, right? So there's a person, and it's not all tied into plugins and things like that. So there's a person. It's not necessarily on its own with a computer or app or software or something. And so it's hard to have all those individuals talk at the same time and be on the same page, but you actually have to build in where you're meeting on a regular basis. And here's where I think the complexity happens, is so that people don't go rogue, because I find that people actually end up going rogue. I had and again, I won't say who they are, but I had a particular client that I was working with that the person who was building the content, the front facing content, went rogue, and then the back end of it didn't match up, and then the entire system broke. And so what you do need to do is, one, you have to continuously meet on a regular basis, always go back to the principles of why you created this, why everyone's kind of doing their pieces, sort of this idea of you have like, it's not a jack of all trades, but master of one creates the jack of all trades in a way. And so you have to constantly remind people of that, making sure that when people have an idea, they bring it to the table versus like just running with it because they know that they can. Because human beings haven't changed, even though our technology seems to shift. So that's the most important thing is to communicate. And I know that sounds like duh, right? Because this is what we do. But like from my experience, if you don't have those regular meetings and communication sessions or reminding people about your goals, why you did this, and why we function as we do in this environment, then they end up just doing their own thing and thinking that everybody's going to be on the same page. And then you get a broken site, or you get a broken broken like email chain, and things just, things end up breaking.
Yeah, and I think you name a big word that is collaborating. So it's difficult, but I think it's something that we need to do when we are talking about CMS headless web in this case, because we need everybody on board, integrated. And I know that we read a lot about CMS headless, talking about the benefits, that I think there are a lot of benefits, like going forward with the branding or being free to change the message if it's not working like very quickly. You don't need to code. You don't need to have the master of the website beside you. You can change it. You can use HubSpot or other tool. But then, like Keo said before, how I integrate that very creative side, my materials, my offer, my branding with all the information that I need to get from the tool that I'm using, right?
Like imagine it, maybe you can talk about with your client. I'm assuming they're using a CRM to do that, and how they're creating chaos. Talk a little bit about what that is like to do the headless system with the CRM. So we're talking about like both of those things interacting together and how that's working, or how you would maybe tell them how to do it differently so that it does work better.
Well, in my case, my client, it's a company of AI technologies. So they are very used to applying new technologies and going forward with information. But I think that's not the case in all scenarios, because how many clients do we have that are in the same market or they are used to technologies? So I think it's easier for certain kind of companies, but it's difficult for others, like to get used to.
So which ones are they easy for, and which ones are difficult for?
Well, if there is a company that has like all the team, like integrated team, then you can talk and it's very easy for them. Or there is just a small company that is just one man show doing everything.
Yeah, I have a question here. How many people are like, you are a solopreneur by yourself? Anybody? Well, I don't know, wave or something so I can see in the shadows. And then how many are like, say, like 2 to 20? Got a lot of 2 to 20s. And then how about 50? How many 50? Anybody over that? Hundreds over there? Yeah, okay. So then I think you can talk about it in both
medium.
Yeah, you can talk about it to more small, medium size.
Yeah, and I think it's like the difference will be if you are outsourcing or if you are working with a team in your company that need to do it, and if they are really own the knowledge to improve the systems, to apply it. So when you talk about CMS headless, it's not really difficult. Like you say, oh, doesn't matter, it's easy, I can do it. I can just hire someone designing. I already pay HubSpot, many people do that, like it's very common. But the other part, like how I integrate my website, my CMR with the other
everything
side,
else.
with everything else.
Right. And then if you're using other technologies, like if you have a CRM system, something like that, if you don't integrate it, then you'll find yourself in a position where you have to backpedal and backtrack. And then if you can lose customers, and nobody wants that, right? So that's not what we're here to do. We're here to win customers, not lose them.
Or efforts, because you are like in a project, you create a blog, you write something, you are ready to apply something, and then the link is broken and everything goes away. So it's a lot of effort, a lot of people working in. So you need to go with the result of that.
You want it to be results oriented. So the challenge with Headless is that it can either give you lots of results, or you can, if you're not collaborating and you're not doing it together with all your systems and you're not integrating your systems, then it can break something. And then now you have to go backpedal and fix it. So I think that I think we shouldn't step so far away from not integrating things, and that there's always like a happy medium, right? There's always you have to teeter in the middle all the time around when is it that we can allow content to live on its own, programming live on its own, and when do we need it to come together? So I think it's always a balance, but you can't take your eyes off of it. So don't think you can step away and it will work on its own, by itself. Like it needs you. You can't walk away from it. It doesn't work on its own. Just like any tool we use, any marketing platform, there is nothing that you can do that you can just walk away from. And if you guys know something that you can just set it up and walk away from, please tell me, because I don't know that. And I think that everything that you set up in our field, when it literally is up to us to make sure that there's a customer and the client sustains and retains, then you cannot walk away from it.
And I think, once again, it needs to be part of a strategy, because I work with so many clients that say, okay, this is a new trend. I want to do it. I want to do headless. So let's do it. But what is the strategy behind that? Why I am doing that? And if you don't have that, you just end up using new tools without the real head of everything that is the strategy. And headless content is just one tool that I'm going to use it for something.
That's a good analogy. Like throwing stuff, like, what is that term where you throw things at the wall to see if it sticks? That's kind of like, if you don't have a strategy for headless, that's what you're doing. You're literally just throwing things at the wall to see if it sticks. Yeah, another question? Chat. All right.
So, well, we can keep talking about the same topic, and well, I can add, like, when you see
Give us an example of another one of your clients.
Yeah, when I see headless content from the outside, we also need to figure out how we are going to communicate that. So we have the case or the blog or the thing that we want to give away. But how is going to be the communication about that? So I want to use social media, Facebook ads, Google ads, how I'm going to share that content that I am creating, because it's not going by themselves going out to exposure. I need a strategy to communicate that to my clients, to catch some fishes. And that's an important part, because I know, well, other of my clients work too hard in the material and in the headless content, but not pay the attention of transform that content in a massive message outside.
So they don't push it out and engage people. So then they've created this whole entire system, and they created something, and then they don't push it out and engage people. So then it gets lost.
Yeah. So they put like organic posts and figure out that everybody's interested in having something for free. But there is so many things for free we can see that every day. Like you just one step in your website and then a lot of things going for free. But for me, that's my experience. It needs to be paid always. And if you have a group, Facebook group or other community, okay, great, LinkedIn group, you can put it there, or you can create something specific for your community, something even more special, like other material or bigger discount or something like that. Like,
So I have a question about, you made me think about something I want to ask all of you. So what are the tools that you all use? And we'll both give some of ours. So what are the tools that you guys use in this environment? So what are the tools that you use for PR communication? What are the tools that you use for SEO? What are the tools that you use for paid digital advertisement? What are some of the tools that you guys use? Meaning, like, are there different platforms? Are there different apps that you use? I'm curious to know. I'll give one of mine so you kind of get where I'm going with this, because this is a chat, so we're sharing with each other, and I think it needs to be useful. And so we're just not going to talk at you. Just be sure. I'm sure you caught on to that right now. So one thing that I really like is I use something called Meltwater, and it's a listening tool. And basically it listens to all digital PR, media content, and social media content, and then it pulls it together. So then I can see it by keywords, I can see it by audience trends, I can see it by people trends, I can see it even by which reporters are writing about the same things that I'm interested in hearing about. So then it really makes it like seamless and how I'm either pitching stories or if I'm putting stuff up on the website in blog content or repurposing something on social media. It makes it much easier. And it's called Meltwater. That's one tool that I really like, and I sort of use it in everything that I do, whoever I'm working with.
and it's a tool, right?
Yep.
Oh,
It's a
that's very
tool.
interesting.
It's an app.
What's the name again?
Meltwater.
Meltwater. Well,
They're gonna have to pay me now, right? Because
Yeah.
I just gave them a big plug.
advertising.
And what about you? And then I want you guys to tell yours too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we have like different tools, and it's incredible, but we learn from our clients because they also have their little
Mhm.
secrets.
So give one. We're sharing secrets here.
Well, okay, we use like HubSpot. It's a really good place to be. Like for some of them, it's very useful in so many tools. So they kept like all the contacts there. They create new things there. So we are trying to expand like the knowledge and what they offer to us too, like an agency. I don't know how many of you own an agency here.
All the
Like
ones
yeah, there are plenty of them doing that. So yeah, we use that. So we begin to work also with Capify. I don't know if you are familiar. Someone familiar with Capify? No.
Share what that is.
Yeah. Well, they keep all your data from headless content and then help you to contact them. But it's something like very personal that they try to do. And the company that I told you before is working with them.
So what do they do again?
They use your data to contact people. It was a campaign just for LinkedIn. It's specifically for LinkedIn. So they are trying to create like more contacts there, and all of you are familiar.
They pull your data in.
They pull your data and then contact everyone because this is a new company in Miami. So they are trying to enter the market and they don't know.
They contact people to do what?
Yeah, to contact with you, like a networking. They're trying to make like a networking.
So they just pull in your interest.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's like something more personal, like a message that goes for you and based on you interesting. Like it's all about AI. So they try to pull you in different areas of the expertise.
Is it AI or is it just
Yeah. Oh no, it's autonomous.
Yeah, it's autonomous.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can you share some tools with us too?
One of my secret sauces is a tool called Lead Forensics. It's basically anyone who has gone to your website more than once in the past, say, week. I mean, you can set up your parameters. For me, in the past week, if you've gone there more than once, I want to know. And it actually
See you guys. Thanks for coming.
extracts data, and then it you know, it tells you the name, the email, and their phone number. So then you can have your sales team follow up. Hey, you notice you're using our website, yada, yada, yada. So it's called Lead Forensics.
Lead
Great
forensics.
tool.
Interesting. Anybody else have a secret sauce they want to share? What, you want to share one before you head out? You're up next.
Yeah,
Oh.
talking. So a couple tools that we use just internally in order to handle any of like the internal communication, email marketing, things like that. I'm a big Go High Level fan. So we use that for both external, internal communication, lead gen, the whole nine. So we'll use that. The other thing that we do is we leverage a lot of AI. So currently we're using, like most people have probably played around with, we're using Chat GPT right now. I use Phrase. We use a lot of the AI NLP types of platforms in order to generate content and tune it. And then we use a lot of other tools, just like most SEOs do, Ahrefs, SEMrush. I personally am a real big fan of the SEO Power Suite. And it just kind of gives me a lot more technical details and data behind that. But pairing both technical as well as NLP tuned content, we're finding phenomenal results out of that.
Oh, I like that. Do you find that the AI content is really good content, or do you have to actually
It's an 80-20.
edit it
It's
and-
80-20. So we leverage that so that it creates 80% of the content.
and then you do the 20.
Then we do the tweaking, the NLP analysis, editing it for entity salience, things like that, just to make sure it's nice and tuned up before we publish it.
Yeah,
So
that's
the
awesome.
big thing we see with AI content currently is that most people, if they're just pressing plug and go or like generate the content, publish it, that's pretty easy to detect. And it becomes less compelling for a lot of people. Whereas if you're actually going in, having that human touch behind it, we're seeing significantly higher conversion rates. But at the same time, we can edit the 80% of that as far as content production and turn out content at about 10 times the rate.
Yeah, it's a more efficient, but you still have to go and edit it. So
100%.
yeah, thank you for that. And back to what I was saying earlier, there was like, you can't, like, headless implies that you can walk away from it because somebody, you have all your different entities working on it, and it's not just because it's not attached doesn't mean that you can't walk away from these things. And so everything that we do inside our field is that you have to still have an eye on it, and everything needs a human touch, and it needs like integration and collaboration to make sure that it's working well for everybody and working well for the customer, right? So
yeah, I am very interested in what he said before. You are going to talk with me after that to tell me more, because I am a firm, like really, really believe that you need the human touch very strongly. And well, my agency is very organic and try to put like a human touch in everything. But I think also you need to be practical. So that's important too. And if you can create and be more efficient, that's great.
I agree with that. Efficiency, practicality, human touch. So you need a little bit of all of it, a little bit of both, right?
I just wanted to make a point. And aside from the human touch, it also matters what type of a person on the team is in making an impact. So I work in healthcare, so like the clinical aspect is really important as well as the legal aspect. So everything that I write as a layman has to go through both of those channels before it is approved to go up on our
that's
channel.
absolutely a good point. Well taken. And with everything, I have copywriters who write, and here's an interesting story that I learned recently. I had a copywriter write something that, and I'm just going to be quite candid because we're in that environment now I feel like after the pandemic and 2020, we can be open and honest with and transparent with each other. I had a writer who, she was writing something that had to do with equity with people of color. She was white. and she wrote the article from a place that sounded like that. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? And then I realized that I didn't, here I was on the other side, not thinking like that she couldn't write from that perspective. And then so I had to pull it back and give her some lessons. And then also we ended up writing it together because of what you said. I couldn't just leave her to do it. And which I thought I could, but you do have to make sure that the right audiences are checking in, checking the work, making sure it aligns with the people that you want it to speak to. So whether that is an article or in your content, or whether the AI messed up something, which happens often. That's why I asked that question back to him. And so it's super important that you're doing your own checks and balances, and the humans are important, and the type of human is important. And this woman, she's actually a great friend of mine, and we had a conversation about how she missed something altogether because of what she looks like and her world experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true, and happens with the human size too. Like you can mess up something when we talk about organic or we talk about headless content. It's easy to make a change. Like you can change very quickly, very fast, and like he said before, like what happened if you mess up? Like if you change something illegal or the chief.
You change something and you have to change it back, or someone doesn't catch it, you don't have checks and balances, someone doesn't catch it. Now it's on the website. Somebody else caught it out there in the public, and now we have a problem that we have to backpedal. And so that is a problem with headless. Is people, I don't want to use the word rogue, but it can go rogue at times.
Yeah, so it's a pro, but we need to be aware of the risk that
there's pluses and minuses, right? Like I brought up the Web 2.0, now we're in Web3 environment. Like there's pluses and minuses to all of these things that we use. And what I think as marketers, what we have to make sure of, like when something new comes online, when you have a new idea, a new concept, keep in mind, not like some things aren't new. Like some of these things we are recreating the wheel, but we're recreating it better than it was before. And so we have to make sure that we're not forgetting the past in order for us to be really great in the present, so then we can shape the future. So, but that might be all things in life, but in marketing, that is indeed what we have to be thinking about.
And sometimes sounds very opposite, because I talk a lot about organic, about creative, about human, well, because I like it and I'm passionate about that. But we need to be really careful at the same time and very analytical, and that it's opposite. So how you create or you get so crazy, so creative, when you need to be like very coach, like very, very analytic too, or very serious about something.
Right, it has to be a combination of all the things.
That's right.
Do we have one more question?
Yeah, I think we have 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes total.
Someone else.
Well, you really have 5 minutes, because we're going to let you use the restroom before these next guys come up. So you just ate lunch, right? Look at us thinking of you. No burning question? Well, any other tools that somebody wants to share? Since we're chatting and sharing, we want to be better marketers from this conference, right? You all paid a lot of money to come here, so you have to get all the things you can get.
You mentioned paid media. So I don't have a specific paid media platform, but I can describe it. I work for a publishing company. And I would say that publishing companies have evolved into technology companies. And if you're doing digital paid media, you should expect a lot of information in return. They shouldn't just be giving you access to a target audience or an audience or a readership that's on paper. You should be able to know how active the audience is, what that audience makeup is, how often they're active, even to the point where they may actually tell you who they are, who saw your content on there. So hold out for that, expect it. If they're not delivering those kind of things, then look for somebody who is, because that's the way publishing is going.
That's great. That's really great. And that's something to know. What's your name and your company?
So the company I work with is Life Science Connect. It's in the B2B life sciences space. But that I would say that you're going to have some that deliver all those things I talk about. And you have some that when you bring it up, they'll look at you like a pig looking at a wristwatch. They have no idea what you're talking about and just go the other way when that happens.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Did you have something?
No,
Go ahead.
you can. No.
I do have, please go ahead.
Well, I think you are entirely right about paid media should be really, or paid advertising should be really next to the information that you can obtain for it, because you're paying and it's something in return, right? Also the revenue, of course, we are all here for sales and for increase on that, but I think should be really connected. Like we need, well, first of all, I think to put something on an advertising in all the channels, like Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram too, we need to own information, because I can really put anything if I don't know the target, if I don't know the interest or the consumer behavior or something like that. So I need this circle. I love the circles because I love 360 grades, and I think marketing is like that. So I need to own the information. I go forward with the materials. I put the ad on, and then I obtain new information. And I'm going to change the old one, and maybe I can like make sub circles. And I'm very obsessed with strategies and analytics, and that's how my brain works like all day long. So I think it's something like that. It's a circle, and you need to, like, every day it's a going around and obtaining new information. And maybe some ads don't go like really well, and others goes fast and obtain more information or more reach.
So thank you for that. So I want to go back to the headless, because I think one thing to know is that don't go run off and decide to go do this to your CMS. Don't go put a plugin on your WordPress website. Don't go do that. Okay. Think about, go back to some of the things that we've been talking about. Think about your strategy. Why would you do that? Who needs to have access to it? Who is your audience? What content are you delivering? How you're delivering that content? Why do you need to go headless? Like, do you need to have set up different permissions? Do you need to set up a different approval, quality checking process? So really think through that before you go and make something headless that isn't right now. And if you are using headless, maybe go back to evaluate, is it working? Go back to all those other things and say, is it working for you? Is it doing what you wanted it to do, what you thought it should do? Are there gaps? Are there things falling through the cracks because of it? And so make sure that you're just being very thoughtful about it. Is because we've been here before. Like this is just a new word, like we've been here before. And then we stepped away from it. Now we just have new technologies that we're adding into it, but we've already been here. So let's not recreate something that has already occurred, but maybe just remember what we learned from in the past. And that's one thing I would like to leave you all with. And is there anything you want to?
Oh, no, just thinking about another client in another case scenario, headless content really work for me in an event. Like it's a webinar or it's an in-person event that they are going to host. They create something really different about the event, and it's really works, or it's worthwhile to having something like that for that.
Okay. Oh, I kind of fibbed to you. You have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go to the restroom. So have at it. Thank you for allowing us to chat with you today. Hopefully you got something out of it, and good luck with the rest of your conference. Okay.